I'd like to welcome you back today. That's awesome. You are still in the running for the grand prize for today. You're not disqualified from that. So no problem with that. You can win more money.
Okay, thank you very much, Linda. Welcome to our presentation on BennuBio. We, the free thinkers, will present our ideas of possible strategies for international expansion going along with short and long-term growth for the company. First of all, I would like to shortly elaborate on the needs which are being covered by the product to service. The simplification of workflows enables a fast detection and analysis of dangerous diseases such as cancer and HIV infection, which saves time and money on one side for cancer institutes, hospital doctors, but most importantly, the patients, because every minute counts. The usage of BennuBio in research centers and laboratories would support the fast analysis and detection of serious diseases in order to address them with appropriate solutions. On the next slide, you can see an outline of what I and my colleague Lukas Hammerich will talk about today. BennuBio enables saving people's lives by simplifying workflows and increasing the speed of blood analysis. With help of advanced analysis technology, correct diagnosis can be made to increase the health status of the patient, making faster treatment possible, paying off with general human well-being. One strategy which could be taken into consideration is the cooperation with advanced cancer institutes. Our approach, therefore, would be the placement of a machine or a free placement of a machine in 3 of the 30 most technologically advanced centers in the world. What is meant with technologically advanced? The 2 factors which are being considered here is on one side the range and quality of cutting-edge treatment options, and on the other side the range and quality of the range and sophistication of innovative research practices. Oslo University Hospital, Netherlands Cancer Institute, and Penn Medicine are already working with flow cytometry and having knowledge about the integration of the machine into their already established work processes. As our team is situated in Upper Austria, we would like to elaborate on a potential partner, which is the Kepler University Clinic. Placing BennuBio for free in their cancer center, which consists of 10 clinical and 4 diagnostic departments, would increase process flow as well as minimize waiting times, as the control checks, diagnosis, and treatments are all situated at one facility. Furthermore, the center is ESMO certified, which shows the high potential of providing integrated oncology and palliative care services with the goals of improving research, education, and clinical practice by setting standards for service development. Integrating BennuBio in this facility would also increase blood analysis, and as Upper Austria counts a population of 1.5 million, it would be a clever and first strategy also from a marketing perspective. As the product is also able to detect HIV infection, we had a look on the global HIV infection rate. On the right side, you can see the globe, and it is clearly visible that Africa, especially the South, is mostly affected. To support research facilities at the search of a possible vaccination, one approach would be to provide the Cape Town laboratory with 1 or 2 machines for free as a move of awareness and commonly facing the global challenge. They followed the mission of developing a safe, effective vaccine, training African scientists in laboratory research in one of the most advanced research facilities on the African continent. The Fred Hutch, which is the leading laboratory and situated in Seattle, does research in more than 60 countries and can count over 700 clinical trials and studies uncovering new ways to prevent, diagnose, and treat diseases. It would be a social move for the company, saving people's lives and as well gaining public attention for their support of fighting the global challenge. To use the public attention wisely, social media is an absolute must. Imagine publications, the share of information, thoughts, work process with high and like-minded professionals all over the world, using hashtags like BennuBio makes it possible. We can do it all together. Having common strength, helping people to get back to normal, and being healthy. Is there anything better?
Thank you so much, Isabella, for talking about the branding strategy that we have. So as Isabella said, the key challenge that we have at the beginning is to get known on the market. And after we get known on the market, obviously, we also want to generate revenue and we want to grow. On the right-hand side, you see the distribution of sales in the global market for analytical, bioanalytical, and laboratory technology by region. And the biggest region here is North America with a share of 26%. However, it is closely followed by Europe. And the competition is much bigger in the North American market. Therefore, our strategy is to go into the European market. And why? Because Europeans trust in American products. One evidence for that is that the analytical, bio, and laboratory technology industry made exports worth 2 billion euros to Germany in 2019. Also, the European market is steadily growing in the last couple of years. For example, from 2018 to 2019, it has been growing by 2.3%. And especially life sciences is gaining importance. And the whole market volume in the German and in the European market is relatively big. Therefore, we want to focus on this market. And how are we going to do this? So what is the strategy here? We want to open up a sales office in Germany to get access to the EU market. Because when we have a sales office in one of the EU countries, then we have access to the total market. There are very many potential key customers and potential lead customers. We want to directly sell to them and to especially research laboratories that are specialized in these kind of medical devices. We expect to make sales of 100 or more machines in the first year after we are going into the European market. And on the left-hand side, you can see some of the different brands we want to work together with. One of them is Unilabs. I don't want to go into details, but this brand or this company has 2,500 laboratories all over Europe, and therefore we see a huge potential. Also, when we're going into the European market, we have to increase the price of the product a little bit from 100,000 to about 110,000, just to cover all the shipping costs that we have and the custom requirements that we need to consider when going into Europe. Furthermore, in the next step, we're thinking about expansion of the value proposition. Actually, we had a look on the industry and we listened to some voices there. I don't want to read the quotes. I just want to highlight the main points that are being discussed there. And one of the main points is digitization through IoT technology, data analytics, and digital business models, and also process integration and complete networking. Therefore, we want to offer for the customers that don't want to buy a machine right at the beginning, a pay-per-use possibility. So how does that work? Actually, a fee is charged according to the effective use, for example, the hours run of the machine. Why does this provide value for the customer? This is a high transparency of the cost that they are going to have. And how does this work? And also we need to guarantee that we still have revenues and that we can still plan. Therefore, we are going to make utilization contracts with all the different laboratories we're working together. In the future, we want to keep the production and the service completely in the US. Therefore, we're thinking into going into online maintenance and online service through VR, for example, but also through chatbots. And when we are using this pay-per-use business model, then we think, since the machines are not owned by the labs, but still owned by BennuBio, that we can also collect the data in a cloud and maybe later on give the data away for free for research purposes to fulfill our social purpose of the company, or also to sell it to other pharmaceutical companies. Now, regarding the funding, we are aware of the fact that the Series B funding took place last year in March. We want to contact the existing investors again to get some funding for the branding campaign that we explained at the beginning. And later on, since we want to go into the European market and since we want to move the sales office to Germany, we want to work together with two venture capitalists that are located in Germany. They're called UVC and Bayern Capital. And they have perfect access also to the medical industry and to the laboratory industry. We think this is also further enhancing our growth strategy. In the end, we think that the needs that are there on the market can be met with the products of BennuBio. And we want to get attention, we want to have awareness for the product to be able to support in health, to be able to make fast analysis, and to simplify workflows. And finally, we see the key advantage of the product in the speed of the product, definitely. Therefore, this message needs to be communicated into the market. And as you can see here, this is also the main competitive advantage, the USP that we're having with the product. Thank you so much for your attention. We're looking forward for the Q&A. And there are some sources that we used.
Thank you so much, Angela, Isabella, and Lucas. Very nice presentation. We have 10 minutes for questions. Will the judges please put their questions in the Q&A? Which risks do you see entering the European market?
I think one of the biggest risks here is that we first of all need to get awareness and that we need to get known on the market, because sure, there also is a lot of competition on the market. And I think there are also a lot of structures that need to be like broken up somehow so that we get access to the customers we want to work with. And therefore, this is probably the biggest risk. However, we are convinced when we're following the strategy that we explained at the beginning. So when we're working together with like these research institutions and with the laboratories, then we can overcome this risk relatively quickly. So that is probably the biggest risk right at the beginning. And sure, there needs to be some investment. I mean, when we're setting up like a sales office over there, then this is expensive at the beginning probably, but we are convinced that we will overcome this risk.
Thank you. How would you ramp up staff to support growth?
When you enter and give the machines for free for the institutes or cancer centers, it would be also good to raise awareness, and you already cooperate with the people inside the facilities, which helps to wrap up new staff for cooperation.
In general, through the strategy that we also want to go into LinkedIn, for example, into Twitter, where there are like a lot of groups and a lot of talk is going on about this particular products, we think that we can also raise awareness in recruiting, and therefore we will be able to ramp up the stuff here. And I mean, this is like the whole concept. We first of all need to have this nice story that we are actually following the social purpose, that we are fighting very serious diseases, and that we're giving the machines for free. And then we are convinced that we can really get a lot of people on board in the company.
Thank you. What regulatory hurdles exist in the EU and how can they be overcome?
Well, one of the hurdles for sure at the beginning is like the tariffs that need to be paid on the products. And yeah, we think that they can be overcome through the collaboration with the venture capitalists we mentioned earlier. I mean, they have perfect access to the market, and they also are very well connected to a lot of key players in this market. And therefore, we are convinced that especially with the hurdles that we have, that they can be overcome. Also, when we're setting up like a sales office over there, so when we actually like founding a company within the EU, then these hurdles will be decreased. Because when you have a company within the European Union, then you have access to the whole market. And I mean, this is like, there are almost no other regulatory hurdles that you have when moving from one country to another country or selling from one country to another country when you already are in the EU.
Thank you. Is there a possibility to give more than 2 devices away? Is there a business model that can be created to give them away and then charge as a service?
I think in general it depends on BennuBio, but firstly it would be important to start with 1 or 2 devices to see, and we also wanted to tackle the topic of collecting data. So you can collect the data, what is the need of the market, and then move on with this approach.
I mean, we definitely think that the service thing, so that the per use that we talked about earlier, is a very good business model for this product, especially. Through this kind of business model, we also want to get into like maybe smaller laboratories so that they can first try it when they're not convinced to buy the product right at the beginning, and then maybe later on also buy the product. And therefore, we think that the pay-per-use business model is one thing that is very, very helpful.
Thank you. We have about just a little bit more than 5 minutes remaining in the session. What do you see as the biggest risks, and how would you mitigate?
Well, for sure, the biggest risk with this strategy is that the branding doesn't work out the way we want it to work out. Because, I mean, the whole strategy is basically based on the branding part right at the beginning, where we just want to get well known on the whole market, where we want to have some good press, to say it like this. And therefore, I think the selection of the research facilities we want to work with and we want to give away the machines for free is tremendously important. We really have to think about, okay, who are we working with here? And that this also fits like in the whole marketing strategy that we talked about. I think this is how we could handle the risk. But obviously, this is the biggest risk here.
Thank you. What does your timeline look like?
The timeline looks like this, that we would start in the next couple of months with the branding campaign, that we get in touch with the research facilities we want to work with, and that we get them established there in the next couple of months. So let's say at the end of the summer, September. Then we want to make the stories until the end of the year so that we can actually start with the branding campaign, and then want to move into the European market in the first quarter of 2022. And then once we are in this market, we think that we can relatively quickly, in a period of like 1 year, get in touch with the lead customers, with the key customers that we talked about a little bit earlier in the presentation, and then be able to sell up to 100 machines within the first year, so until the first quarter of 2023.
Thank you. Big data is valuable. Would you consider selling it as another source of revenue?
There are actually two options. It could be sold, especially to the pharmaceutical industry. Another option would be to give it free, accessible. Yeah, it then depends. But for sure, it can be used as another source of revenue.
I think we really need to base the business model also on this, because when we have this pay-per-use business model, then the machines are still owned by BennuBio, which means we could make a partnership with a software company, like in the long run, maybe in the next couple of years, and collect all this data, and then, as Isabella already said, can use it for two different purposes: either to support a social message and give it away for free, like to research institutes that are working on serious diseases, because I mean, this is also what the company wants when we look at the social purpose here, or we sell it to the pharmaceutical industry in general so they can work with that. Sure, there are some considerations about data protection and so on that we need to take into consideration. However, this is like the first idea how the business model could be expanded in that direction.
Thank you. We have about 1:45 left. How will you protect your intellectual property in Europe?
Through patents. I mean, normally when you go to the respective agencies of the European Union, you can just go for a patent, and then the intellectual property would be very secure. And we really believe in these kind of institutions. We think that the intellectual property is like relatively safe in the EU or in Europe compared to other markets in the world.
1 minute remaining in the session. Are there any other questions from our judges? Okay, we only have 30 seconds left. At this time, I am bringing in Yorgos Marinakis, who is on the committee and does great things, and Heidi Harvey, who is also one of our moderators. We would like to wish you congratulations on your excellent work yesterday and the prize that you won. Yorgos, Heidi?
Can you tell them good job?
Good job.
Thank
We
you.
are
Thank you so much.
grateful that you guys came and competed along with all the other teams, and we just want to congratulate you on doing really well yesterday and hopefully today and maybe tomorrow.
Thank you so much for
Congratulations,
that.
free thinkers. I know your
Yeah.
anthem. I know your theme song. The Donkeys in fly. But if you keep winning competitions like this, your thoughts won't be free anymore. They'll be very expensive. People pay you a lot of money for your ideas.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I'm a patent attorney. If you end up doing any of those patents, please let me know.
We will.
Yeah, thank you so much, and thank you for having the opportunity to be in this competition. Thank you for having us. And that's very interesting, and I think it's also super interesting to listen to all the other groups. There have been so many great ideas that also like make you think about some things. So this is a great competition that we absolutely love. Thank you.
Great.
I look forward to seeing you next year.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Hopefully.
Thanks.
Okay, everybody, thank you so much. We're going to pause now for a few minutes to allow the judges time to use their scorecards. Again, this is JKU Group 1 Free Thinkers. Thank you again. It's been a pleasure having you.
Okay, so I would start now. So first of all, we wanted to say a great thanks to the Professor Walsh and the team of who organized this event. We really like it and we enjoy the experience that we have here. So thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. So my name is Andrei, and I will present you our idea for the scaling up for the BennuBio company. So first of all, I would like to start from the short look on the flow cytometry as a process, because BennuBio VeloCyte is actually serving this particular process. And the main applications of this process nowadays is first in the clinical trials and drug discovery. So it is used in order to analyze the effect of some particular drugs on the human body. Also, it is used in the diagnosis of cancer and some other illnesses. And together with that, there are a huge number of other applications which are still increasing, because even though the flow cytometry process is a quite old one already, but still the advances in the technology given the opportunity for this market to grow more and more. So looking at particularly at the VeloCyte, our team identified two main benefits or strengths of this product. First of all, it is, of course, the high throughput, which is achieved by using the 10 stream of particles. And we think this is a great advantage on the market nowadays, because overall, the flow cytometry seemed to struggle of the throughput issues before. And I think the VeloCyte would be a great solution for that. And of course, the second one is the reusability of sample, which would be enormously important in the clinical trials, when you will for sure need to analyze the same sample many times in order to find some rare event or detect something else. So in order to use these benefits, we wanted to suggest two strategies that will sort of go in parallel, because they touch different aspects of the company. And the first one would be addressing new markets because nowadays the USA market is the biggest one, but it also have the biggest number of suppliers which actually export their products all over the world. So the level of competition is extremely high. So we think that it would be a good opportunity to go into a new market and establish your own brand there. And also the second approach that we would like to consider is having a more general look on the flow cytometry as a process from the customer perspective, because in reality, the machine, the VeloCyte, is not the only part in this process. It also consists of the collecting the samples and also the software that will later analyze the results and present them to the users in order to see the data and analyze it in further research. So in order to approach these two strategies, first of all, I would just go briefly through the market figures. So on the left, you can see the graph of the evolution of the market size predicted in the latest research. And as you can see, it is believed that the market would grow, the global market would grow by 8.9% every year. As a result, in 2027, it will almost double the current market size. So there is a really huge potential. And on the right, there is a graph that will give a little bit more details about the distribution of the markets over the whole world. And here we can see the USA, which is taking the leading position, but also the Europe, which is following apart. And this is not surprisingly, actually, because in Europe, there is also a huge amount of investments done in the biotech technologies and also overall in the healthcare industry. That's why our main goal with the approach would be to come into the European market and to get a huge customer base there. In order to do that, of course, there is a number of challenges that would pop up for sure during this process. First of all, each country has a different preferences of users, also the traditions. So there will be a need to adjust the product design to the particular needs and the habits of the users. Also, there is a huge importance to follow all the regulations. And in the Europe, there are different countries with many specific cases for the regulations. So there should be huge efforts invested in that. Also, the building of the brand name from scratch should take also some years even, and require a lot of investments. And of course, provision of the related services will need to open up the facilities inside in the local market, or try to figure it out in other ways. So our approach to this problem would be to create a joint venture with the existing supplier of medical equipment that already established in the market and has a huge customer base. And this partner would help us to redesign the product in a way that it will fit to the culture, to the local needs of customers. Also put some efforts into getting the certifications to the equipment that we use, and also provide the maintenance service to the final users. So how it will look like overall, that the BennuBio will provide their technology and their product as it could be represented as an innovation to a key player on the market who will add this product to their product set and will just sell it as with the usual distribution channels that is present already. And another approach that would be going in parallel, and we would suggest to use it, is to look at the process of the flow cytometry as the part to divide it into the hardware and software. The hardware in this case will be the VeloCyte, the extremely efficient machine that could generate a high throughput and which is very flexible. And also there is a number of software providers which could be considered as a different market. And currently, they are kind of separated because you buy the product from the BennuBio, for example, or any other flow cytometer, and also you need to choose the software that will fit to your particular needs. So what we would suggest is, together with the business partner or joint venture, we would like to create a fully integrated product which will consist of both hardware and software. So they will match completely together, and main benefits of it would be, of course, the high effectiveness of the product and also the good customer experience, because the customers will not need to buy hardware or software separately. They will get the full package, which will be extremely effective. And just to give you a few examples of the potential partners that could be used or for BennuBio, this is Siemens, is kind of one of the key players in the European market of medical equipment, with the annual turnover over 57 billions of euros. And it provides a number of different equipments. Together, it also has a great advantage in the software development. Still, it is worth saying that they have already their flow cytometers on the market, but we think that the innovation coming from the US company, which competes on the USA market, will have a great advantage for Siemens. So we think that this company will be really interested in the cooperation. Also, the Beckman, this is the company which is really specialized in software development, and also they do produce the flow cytometers, but they are on a much lower scale, so they have much lower throughput. So that could be also a good additional product to their portfolio. And the Bayer, which is also a big player, which does not have still flow cytometers in place. So we think that the BennuBio product will have a great fit to their overall portfolio. And of course, in order to handle that, there is a need to raise an additional funds. But according to our analysis, we identified that the company overall has a really good funds already. So they raised already $9 million US. And the existing investors are interested in the company development. So this is our two options, and we would suggest that the company would follow the same strategy. So whether ask the current investors to invest even more money to support the internationalization strategy, or we also identify that company, that BennuBio is very attractive for the external investors, of course, because the hugely innovative product and the internationalization strategy, and of course the fact that some of the venture capitalists already invested into the organization give a higher score in their valuation for the potential investments. So just to summarize all of that, I would say that the main benefits of the approach that we choose is the strong relation with the key players on the market, which can result in the potential cooperations and developing of new products in later. Also, the possibility to boost the current product with the integrated software, for example, providing the cloud computing service to the big laboratories who have locations everywhere in the world, so they can have a general centralized database with the whole data. And of course, the access to the global market, as the players that we discussed earlier are really operating not only in Europe, but also abroad. So they can really help to bring the BennuBio product to the global scale. And that's it from our side. So we're happy to hear all your questions, and yeah, looking for the Q&A.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Right on time. Would the judges please ask their questions in the Q&A section? Which challenges do you see in setting up a joint venture?
Yeah, so the biggest challenge, obviously, in a joint venture is finding the correct partner, because there need to be a lot of trust, mutual trust. Yeah, that's, we guess, the biggest challenge.
Thank you. What type of terms do you propose in the JV?
Actually, we thought about keeping the production insourced in the BennuBio. So BennuBio will produce the products, but it will be more the type of relations where the partner will take the role of the source of information about the local market, also the support in terms of the distribution, and of course of the technologies. So actually, it highly depends on the development of the product, because if they will create some kind of unique product together, that will need to have a reconsideration. But I would say that would be more as a supplier relationship, but in terms of the partnership.
What risks do you see associated with the software integration strategy, and how would you mitigate these?
One possible risk would be that the end user is not free to choose the software he likes to use, but you could mitigate this with using open standards, which is common in research anyway, and keep them still open. But by using this integrated software, you could still provide a better user experience and make use of this high throughput that BennuBio is proposing. So with this high throughput that is generated by the machine, traditional software will not be able to keep up with it. With this cloud software approach, you can further use this high throughput and distribute the data out to the world.
Thank you. Although a joint venture provides sales and marketing benefits, it would reduce revenue. Please discuss.
I would say that in our case, we saw the main benefits in terms of time, because as per now, we see BennuBio as a super, how to say, innovation that needs to go on the market as soon as possible. And if it needs to go as soon as possible, it needs to be further developed also. So we're just using the joint venture just to save time, not to spend it on the creating from scratch the brand and using the marketing, which will just be much faster in this case.
Another aspect would be the adaptation to the European market, where you need specific knowledge in the European area. BennuBio, coming from the US with a European partner, could easily adapt to this new market.
Thank you. We have about 6.5 minutes remaining. Will a JV milestone payment with a large corporate be something you'd consider?
Actually, I think in this case, I would say that probably from the very beginning, it will worth to have some bunch of investments in order to come up to some common agreement. And yeah, I would say that this should be considered for sure.
How do you plan to scale your production? How are you going to finance?
I think that regarding the production, this is for us, of course, hard to evaluate because we don't really know about the production process in particular. But as for the funding, we would suggest to follow the same strategy as the company is doing now. So to go with the venture capitalists that would be interested into the company and to invest money to increase the production.
Thank you. We have about 5 minutes remaining. Would you also consider another JV with company outside Europe and US to reach that market?
I would say that this is a strategy that for sure worth a consideration, but again, it depends really on the particular market. Because I would say that the main benefit for us, at least, that seemed to be for creating a joint venture in Europe, is then that it will save a lot of efforts and money in order to develop the whole knowledge base about the customers and about the regulations that needs to be applied. So this is actually the main reason behind that. And so we would say that it clearly depends on the market and it will require additional market analysis to answer this question.
Thank you. What is the timeline for these strategies and what would key milestones be?
As for the timeline, I think it will be hard to say in the precise terms, but I think the first milestone will be for sure to come to the discussion with the potential partners and come up with the feasible contract or the terms in relations. I think there will be 6 months will be feasible period approximately for that. And depending on that, I think the first thing to be discussed is the way how the product will be redesigned. So how it will be proposed to the customers. And that would be, I guess, the second step that would be the most important and crucial in this case. And for that, I think it could take around a year, but again, it's hard to evaluate.
Thank you. We have 3 minutes remaining in the session. Any more questions from the judges? What are the main costs associated with the software integration strategy?
Well, the main cost in software development are the developers. And with the cooperation in a joint venture, these costs are mainly with the partners. So BennuBio can focus on the hardware development and invest in the production. And the joint venture partner will be the integral part for the software component. So yeah, the main costs are developing costs.
Thank you. Two minutes remaining in the session. How are you going to protect intellectual property in the JV?
Well, BennuBio still already has their patents in place. They will remain untouched. For the integration, the new patents can be put into place. So patenting for the joint venture would be an option.
Thank you. 1 minute remaining.
Thank you so much. So thanks again to all the people involved for making this competition possible. We really enjoyed working on our scaling solutions the past few days, like I said yesterday, and we're really excited to show you our solution for BennuBio. So to first go into the agenda just briefly, we will start off our presentation by presenting our results, so our actual scaling solution. Then we will move on to presenting the opportunities that come with our scaling solution. After that, we will explain our approach and analysis of the market that we find most suitable for BennuBio, followed by our funding strategy. And we will then conclude our presentation by presenting the benefits of our strategy.
Okay, let's move now to the solution, to our scaling solution slide. After performing a market analysis, we conclude that there is a strong need and demand for global growth. And if doing so, BennuBio will be able to maximize firm potential and profitability and move the idea of sustainability and social responsibility forward. We have looked at the potential markets, and by comparing possible opportunities and challenges in different countries and markets, we came up with the solution that, in our opinion, has the most potential. So, to be precise and short, our scale-up strategy is to enter the global market through sales contracts with key players in the European medical diagnostics industry. So let's move to the opportunities. As I said before, our analysis showed us many opportunities with the proposed strategy. First of all, why did we focus on Europe? The first reason is because the medical diagnostics and biotechnology industries in Europe are well established, and there is a lot of investments going on throughout governments and other institutions, but also from the EU. There is also a similar type of demand compared to the US ones, especially with regard to product specification needs. And additionally, meaning that the pharma companies in European Union have many labs and work on similar projects that the US does. So secondly, why partner up with a medical diagnostics company? This sales or customer relationship creates, as we believe, a win-win situation, as medical diagnostics and biotechnology companies are in need of faster processing technologies to enhance their capabilities, which allows them to attract more customers and eventually has a positive impact on a company's bottom line. For BennuBio, the benefit is, of course, getting access to the market and realizing the potential to sell a bulk of machines to these large organizations. We believe if BennuBio products conquer the large labs, then the smaller and independent labs are likely to follow the lead users and are interested in the product as well. There is a growing demand for the fast analysis of the products, meaning that there is a high traffic in this industry that BennuBio can be a solution for. And most big diagnostics companies are international, so there is a huge possibility to expand worldwide. If you start to operate with one particular lab, and this firm has other locations all over the world, there is a big chance that BennuBio will grow rapidly. So thirdly, why should BennuBio sell directly to these medical diagnostics companies? Because by doing so, BennuBio receives autonomy and is still in control of their product development and can expand to new markets on own terms. They understand customer needs and can adapt their business model and product accordingly. And direct selling facilitates customer relationships, as BennuBio is in frequent and direct contact with customers, which can result in possible upselling and cross-selling. So let's move to our approach. The first step is to recruit a sales team. In order to expand, we advise BennuBio to grow their internal sales teams, especially with experts in this area, to approach the potential partners. The sales team that BennuBio should recruit, in our opinion, should include people from the European Union, as they know a lot about culture, way of communication, and the market, and will be able to build relations faster. So we advise BennuBio to assign a sales team to each customer. Key account managers can make sure that the customer's relationship is fostered and bring in new ideas for the product development team. The next step is to contact sales partners. And how can BennuBio do this? In our opinion, through contacts available on the website, social media, using personal networks, attending specific events, fairs, expositions, etc. The topic of medical diagnostics is extremely popular nowadays, and based on our research, we noticed that even in times of COVID-19, there are a bunch of online events. And networking events are one of the best ways to approach potential partners, in addition to hiring directly from the market. And the companies that we could potentially partner up with are Synlab, headquarters in Germany, and also Unilab's headquarters in Switzerland. The next step is further product development. As BennuBio is currently working on an automatic sample loader, we advise to also bring this technology into the European market. We think that the product can be made more complex with more applications due to the high level of training and education of the product operators in Europe. So we believe BennuBio should follow this path of automation and usability for their product. Moreover, this type of product enhancement would require further research and development resources and follow a path of automation and usability. And this is also where we thought about the maintenance plan. On the first visit, the on-site training should occur, and also if anything is broken, the broken parts, for example, or broken products can be shipped to the US and fixed or replaced with new products. And by doing so, BennuBio is eliminating the need to travel. And lastly, we can believe that BennuBio should eventually outsource production if they don't do so already. After partnering with the companies, there will be a need to outsource the production due to the amount of the machines that will need to be produced. And outsourcing will help to decrease costs for sure, but also will let the current team focus on the core activities, approaching new partners and innovating the product for the potential growth.
So how do we think we can finance this strategy? We believe actually that our strategy is doable with a moderate amount of money because we don't plan to set up subsidiaries or maintenance networks for similar things in Europe. And we also do not suggest large product modifications before entering the European market. So the largest proportion of the new capital requirement is definitely connected to the expansion of the sales team and their activities, as Katarina just mentioned. We believe that the expansion to Europe is attractive for existing investors for various reasons that were mentioned earlier, of course, and we even observed an interest in the European market, for example, from the Cottonwood Technology Fund, who not only have their focus in Southwest USA, but also Northern Europe. And the second source of funding comes from retained earnings that should mostly be reinvested into product modifications and further market expansions. So at this stage, we believe that there is no further venture capital partners required. And now to get to the benefits. So first of all, sustainable growth. Our solution enables constant growth due to the strategic sales to large companies, but also manageable growth, as the first step should be recruiting more salespeople. Then the next benefit is direct sales, which allows direct contact to the market that BennuBio sells in. So like getting buyer feedback, for example, in addition to, of course, already having contact to various markets through even just one customer. Then next, our solution is also based around focused customer acquisition. So not targeting many small medical diagnostics and biotechnology companies, but instead going over the bigger players, which saves, of course, a lot of sales costs. And lastly, our solution can be used in various geographical markets. So BennuBio can actually use this approach in different markets on their own terms, but of course also the ones we suggested. So that about sums up our presentation. Thank you a lot for listening, and we look forward to the questions in the Q&A.
Thank you very much. We have just a little bit more than 10 minutes remaining for the Q&A session. Would the judges please ask their questions in the Q&A tab? When do you expect the company to reach positive net income?
So I will take that question. We expect it to be relatively fast because our strategy, the expenditure for our strategy is mostly the sales team, and we expect to be in the first year around 800,000 to 1 million required to get the stuff and like attend the fairs and everything. So when we think about the customer, on the other hand, we identified this big lab networks, and when we just estimate that we sell like to 5 big ones of them, and we and they just buy one device for 10% of their locations, that would be around 300 to 400 pieces sold in a relatively short term. And then we are talking about 40 million turnover. So we expect it to be pretty early.
What are your estimates regarding market potential?
So we had a look in the in vitro diagnostic market, which is around like 13 to 15 billion in the European Union in 2019. Of course, we're not thinking about grabbing the whole share, but we think for sure the market potential just for the EU and just for the medical diagnostics is around like 2 to 3 billion in the long run.
Thank you. What revenue estimates do you project short and long term?
So for the short term, we're, like I said, we are estimating around like 300 to 400 units sold within the first 1 to 1.5 years, which would be 40 million. And for the long run, I think it scales up pretty well. So we are just mentioned the potential market, and we also think that there's ongoing revenues, like recurring revenues. So we provide like a yearly service that the functionality of the product is ensured. But we're also thinking about like consumables, like liquids that need to be refilled. And I think we have like these two revenue streams. It's the selling of the product, but we also have like recurring revenues.
How much funding do you anticipate the company needing outside of earnings?
I touched that a bit already. So we are expecting 800,000 to 1 million to hire the sales staff, which is the main cost driver, because we think the product itself is ready for the European market, and there will be some legal costs also to enter the market, but mainly we're looking to hire experienced sales personnel in the area, and that would be around 800,000 to 1 million.
Thank you. We have just less than 7 minutes remaining in the session. Given the high cost per unit, how can small independent labs afford to purchase?
So that's why we are trying to focus on the big corporations and the lab networks, because we are aware that 100,000 is pretty much for small independent labs. So our strategy is targeted towards bigger players that have the financial resources to buy the product. And I think in the long run, it would be maybe possible to target small and independent labs through changing the business model. So maybe there's some leasing or renting possibilities, but first our strategy is focused on selling up to bigger players.
Thank you. Could you elaborate on your plans for after-sales service?
So I think so the first part of our service is when we sell the product. But when it comes to after sales service, I think there will always be a need when there's like a product adjustment, or we saw that there is 3D modeling software attached to the product. So if there is any issues or updates, I think it's really important to stay connected with the customers. And I think for the after sales service, like there should be a yearly fee as well to when the company chooses on using the 3D modeling software as well.
Thank you. What do you see as the biggest risk associated with this strategy?
actually see the biggest risk being the recruiting of the sales team. So as we mentioned, the sales team is very crucial in this aspect and in this strategy. And to recruit also during a pandemic, people who have experience in the EU could of course be risky. So that's probably the biggest risk, along with, of course, market entry in general.
Thank you. We have 4 minutes remaining in the session. How do you plan to scale your production?
So we are not sure if BennuBio is already outsourcing their production, but we identified a potential partner in Europe. It's called Bio 1. It's actually based in Austria, and they are doing on-demand manufacturing of medical products and also diagnostics products. So we think we found a partner in Europe already that can provide us with the infrastructure to scale up.
Thank you. 3 minutes remaining. Judges, you can continue to ask questions. A follow-up question on production. What challenges do you see outsourcing to Europe?
The first thing that comes to my mind is that Europe is probably not the cheapest region of the world to outsource your production to, but I think BennuBio relies a lot on the quality of the production. So we still suggest going with a high quality partner in the European market.
Thank you. There is 1:45 remaining in the session. Will cost per unit need to change in EU versus USA?
So I think the potency of the potential buyers in the EU or in Europe compared to the US is similar, and so we believe that the unit cost is also suitable as it is right now for the EU.
Thank you. We have 1 minute remaining. There is 30 seconds remaining. I would like to thank the team from JKU from joining us in Austria. I hope you have a wonderful evening. If there are no other questions, we are going to go ahead and wrap up this session. I appreciate your being here, and I look forward to seeing you again next year.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having.
Okay, Thank you. Now, I'd like to start our presentations. Hello, everyone. We are teams from Exeter, England, and our teammates are Lynn, Maria, Nikun Cheng, and Jessica. Our presentation are divided into three parts. First, the key factors for scaling up, and then short-term scaling frameworks, followed with the middle-term scaling framework. So let's start with the key factors for scaling up, and there are mainly 4 points. First, marketing development. Partly because of the coronavirus, the market is growing rapidly, and our team believes we should catch up the time and expanding the market as soon as possible. So to support the market development, the company should also hiring more people to offer more service and to expand the market. And another key issues for the company is funding. The company should increase the revenues from the current product while exploring other avenues for innovations. Because innovation is another important point for scaling up. The company should also develop new technologies and pursue the academic market further. So when it comes to the short-term scaling, actually there are mainly 2 points. First, improving the current product to make the machine more easier to use for individuals, and then transform from a seller to a survivor. And they can do some outsourcing works like food testing and leasing the instrument. To be more specific, the company can improve the current technology in 2 ways. First is on their preparing the sample stage. They can publish the sample preparation package, just like the rapid test for coronavirus, and it will make it more easier to use, and it will make it easier to use, and then move on to the test samples. The company should test the liquid composition for the nutritional information. For example, they can provide outsourcing service for drinking companies. So, next I will talk about the transform from seller to servicers. The first of all, they can provide the third-party test service for food manufacturing or the customers at borders, because they need to do the test frequently, but it is more expensive for them to buy a machine by their own, and they still need to spend much money on training their colleagues to using the machines. And the third-party test service is much more cheaper. The cost per test is between $5 and $22. And the second point is that they can lease the instrument to the academic research, because the academic researchers don't need to use the machine at all time, so they can just rent a machine if you need. And it's all about the sharing economies. And by share the instrument can help the researchers save on the research cost. And my teammate Maria will talk about the medium term scaling. Hello, Maureen?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Can you move into the next slide?
Here we are.
It's still the first slide here, but not sure if the whole problem is a screenshot. I'm sure it's slide 3, but Thank you very much, Benjamin. So as a midterm scaling solution, we've considered the option of enlarging our customer base and introducing some innovation techniques to the flow cytometry segment. Benjamin, can you move the slide, please? No. Okay.
Some technical difficulties there, but if you go back to the previous slide, I can carry on from here, potentially. So from here, so if you go back to the medium-term scaling, I can maybe explain a bit more about that. Or do we have less than a minute?
Previous slide.
Yes,
Yeah.
now slides. Sorry about that. That was another slides. So as an innovation that we've introduced into the flow cytometry, an example would be imagining flow cytometry, which is a technique that enables to capture images of the particles as they pass through the laser using a CDD camera. Additionally, on the other hand, we've introduced machine learning, which is defined by the progress in cell imaging and sorting techniques, such as sample enrichment and separation, as well as other approaches for automatization of data analysis that are based on machine learning and deep learning methods. Deep learning with real-time, for example, in cell sorting and flow cytometry has played a major role as an innovation, and it outperforms other machine learning algorithms and problems where large amount of data are involved. On the other hand, we've also considered the Inish analyzer, which is another innovative technique in cytometry, which enables to analyze and sort cells based on various factors, such as their DNA content, their cytoplasm conductivity, their morphology, and their membrane integrity. So these are some kind of advances that play a role in the innovation of the flow cytometry. And the aim of this is to invest in the right technology and to fine-tune it continuously. Something is wrong, but the slides are not moving, I guess. Are you able to see the slides? Yes.
If you can't see the slides advance on your end, I think you need to refresh again. I was having that problem yesterday. I couldn't see the slides advance.
Right.
But don't worry, we've paused your time, so it won't be counted against you.
Correct. Can you hear me, Heidi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm fixed.
Yeah, so
As a major solution, BennuBio is to expand to enlarge our customer base, and here we considered more specifically the expansion to other markets to geographically take advantage and opportunities existing in other markets. And based on this plot chart that we see, which provides an illustration of the potential growth of the Asia-Pacific market when it comes to flow cytometry by 2025. So in the near future, the Asia-Pacific market is expected to increase or to expand to $1,150 US, which enables us to see great significant potential that BennuBio might seek to take advantage of and to expand its customer base in those markets. Although the segment of end user customers potentially of research institutes, pharmaceuticals, biotechnology companies, hospitals, clinics, it might be a potential opportunity for the company to expand into the Asia-Pacific region. Next slide, please.
that's all to be Dorothy. And thank you for listening.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate having Exeter join us again today. Will the judges please go to the Q&A tab and ask questions? What are the biggest risks you see with the technology?
Actually, there are some risks for the technology, and the biggest one I think is about the privacy information. The test is not the test may be not accurate. And if they don't, if their technology is not advanced enough, so they still need to and more funding to develop their technology.
Thank you. How would you fund and prioritize the innovations?
Sure, I'm happy to take that question. So in the innovation, though we don't have a particular or precise and accurate idea of the estimation cost to the company, to BennuBio, however, we would do, when it comes to their prioritization, we would consider machine learning and artificial intelligence and deep learning as the ongoing trends in the flow cytometry segment, particularly. Though we don't really have an accurate estimation of their cost, we would prioritize them on the advantages they bring and how far do they enable to large scale the flow cytometry process and the sampling of and the testing of the sample itself. Particularly when it comes to data and software, that would be how much do they bring to the company when it comes to getting data about clinical trials and sample testing.
Thank you. What terms do you suggest for the leasing agreements?
So I'm happy to take this one. So in terms of leasing agreements, we have some ideas. So we're looking at expanding within clinical trials as well. And the advantages with clinical trials is they're only done over a set period of time. So for example, they can go anywhere between, I don't know, a few weeks, months, to all the way up to a year. And if we were able to expand the technology and integrate it, the idea is that we would be able to lease the equipment to these clinical trials for them to use it. And the main advantage for that as well is we get some kind of free marketing too. So as they were publishing their papers, and they would say exactly how they analyzed the sample and exactly how they took all their data. And so as we were doing that, we would be able to have the name of the company and the machines that they use within the academia framework.
Thank you. How should the company add staff to accomplish this strategy?
Maybe they can cooperate with the colleges because they can hire some master or PhD students to support their market development strategies because it is much more easier. It's easier and cheaper and convenient to hire and cooperate with the college.
Thank you. Have you performed market share and revenue growth analysis?
No, sorry, you can do this.
So we haven't conducted any growth potential share in the US particularly, but we do see the potential advantage that the company has in expanding and in reaching out other markets, and that's what we did consider expanding other markets and enlarging our customer base. That could potentially be through industrial presentations and technical presentations and seminars as well. But we haven't particularly touched upon accurate numbers for growth and market share.
Thank you. We have about 6 minutes remaining in the session.
I'll just add on to that last question. So we perform market and revenue growth analyses. So I think the idea is that within as we said, that the Asia Pacific market is increasing, due to increase by I think the slide was somewhere lost within the technical difficulties, is looking to grow sort of exponentially. So that's why we're looking at going to mainly third world countries that don't have the same resources as we currently have within say like the EU and the UK. And I think that would be a really good target market, as this machine is slightly more isolated, and it's kind of different to southern competitors like the liquid chromatography machines that they use in research at the moment. So it'd be able to do that cheaper than other machines.
Thank you. Who are your main competitors?
Actually, there are some companies focused on this area also, but I don't remember the company's name exactly. But they do have some competitors, and they are doing a well job.
Yeah, we have some competitors like Allegiant Technology or BioRide Laboratories, but we think we have a more advanced technology. So if there is some competitors, I think we are good at the 3D dimension test. So I think it's not a very big deal. Yeah.
Thank you. How does the cost of the machine impact your strategy?
So the cost of the machine will mainly affect the prices that we're doing. So if we're going to analyze the own samples, which goes back into what we're saying about expanding our staff. So within the company, if there were more staff available to be able to analyze these samples, you could also like add extra revenue through these ways. So I guess if it would be possible to optimize the cost of the product so far, then we would want to reduce costs wherever it's possible. But we haven't necessarily looked at reducing the cost of the machine. So I guess in short answer to the question, it would just affect how much we would be selling the both leasing to the clinical trials and how much we would be selling the sample data for.
Thank you. We have about 2.5 minutes left in the session. Are there more questions from our judges, please? Next question. How do you protect intellectual property?
So I guess that the answer to that question is you'd create a patent for the technology. So at the moment they have I believe it's the acoustic wave technology in order to analyze it from the machine. So I would say that you would need to go to an international patents office to ensure that that's protected.
Thank you. We have about a minute remaining in the session. How will the company recruit top-tier talent being in out-of-market location?
I think the question is a little similar to the previous question, and I think Pension has said we can apply some competition at campus, like for some. I think it's a win-win situation because the students can apply that technology into the empirical project and the company. They can find some people with talent, and I think it's a very big choice for them to recruit some top talent out of the market location.
Okay, I would like to thank the team. Our time is up. Thank you so much for joining us again from sunny England. And thank you for participating in the Global Scaling Challenge. I do hope that you'll